Okay, we're recording. Today is Wednesday, December 2nd, 2019. 2020. I'm meeting with Caleb. Caleb lives there. Where do you live, Caleb?
I live in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Halifax, Nova Scotia. All right. Now I'm just going to test this. I'm not going to put it online. I might just put it on YouTube just to see it for myself and see if it works. Um, Again, I have a voice problem, a throat problem. It's not a sore throat. It's more, I think I have a lymph node that's swollen. Um, so I'm going to have to limit my talking time. That's why I've cut down on other individuals' meetings now.
Mm.
Everybody's meeting now once a week rather than some of them were meeting twice a week. All right. Any thoughts or questions about what we're doing, what you're learning, and how you're applying these ideas to your life?
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and in the past couple of weeks, I was feeling really kind of satisfied uh, with my being and how I am, and yeah. But then more recently, I've felt a stronger desire to improve, and I think that that's kind of how the process goes. Is you get some improvement, and there's a lot of pleasure that goes with that, of improving your understanding, not being um, as torn this way and that by emotions, by familiar emotions feeling that they have less power, um, and that can lead to, yes, pleasure, which can lead to complacency, and I've experienced that, yeah, many times. Um, and then experiencing that pleasure, and then becoming dissatisfied with it, and then again desiring to improve more. So yeah, that's how it's going.
Okay. You're bringing me bringing up an idea about desire. Uh, Spinoza talks about desire is the essence of man. This is in the Ethics on page 173, the beginning pages of the definitions of our emotions. How would you describe that? Desire is the essence of man, and how does that relate to you?
Desire being the essence of man means that everything that we do is, the cause of it is desire, and that we have a particular being, our mind and body, and our essence is the endeavor to persist in our existence. And yeah, all the emotions are explained through desire. Yeah, so I'm beginning to see that in myself, how every emotion comes from a particular desire and comes from a particular understanding. A desire combined with desire to maintain our existence and improve our existence, combined with understanding how we understand ourselves and the world around us. Those are the root cause of every emotion and every desire that we have.
Very good. The root cause, um, yes, because some of it, again, you're saying desire, it preserves our existence. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, preserves our existence. Well, by way of example, like our body, we experience the need for some food to maintain our physical existence. Um, so we have the idea to eat something. Or another example, if we see ourselves as playing a certain position in a social setting, then we'll desire to assert a certain image in our relationships because we'll see that as beneficial to to preserving ourselves. Um, uh, Actually, that doesn't sound very clear. What was the question again?
I think that is good. Uh, how does desire preserve our existence? I mean, that's another way of putting it. Desire preserve our existence. What does that mean? And I think you explained it quite well. And how long have you been doing this work now, Caleb?
About 5 years.
About 5 years. And how do you feel about this recording we're doing now? Feel comfortable? Feel okay about it? Feel?
Yeah, I think that this is free form and unprepared, but overall good.
Yeah. The only thing I'm never really wholly prepared. I may say I want to talk about. Sometimes I don't know. It's always kind of organic. It develops. And that's one of the things I love my teacher. It was always developing. It was always an open meeting. It was never a controlled, systemized direction. But it was always an excellent meeting. Why? Because no matter what we talk about, it leads to how to improve our understanding. And one of my other students questions, what is the being of the individual? And I think Gurdjieff really nails it when he talks about knowledge and being are really different. That knowledge cannot really change being. And then he describes what being is on page 66. This is on page 65 and 66 in Search of the Miraculous. So on page 66, he talks about the being of the individual. So what would you tell a new student? And I'm asking my students to give you a call. I'm going to show Caleb and not Caleb, Conrad and Sean to give you a call because it's that sometimes I say a lot, I know, and I'm realizing there's so much that I say that the individual cannot really absorb it or assimilate it. And that's why I recommend that they learn how to listen, so you go through their own meetings, to listen to their meetings and take that opportunity to pause the meeting, to listen to the meeting, and what is it that they responded to or they did not understand? Because in a meeting, a new student particularly has a difficult time being in a meeting because being directly in front of his teacher, his coach, is rather intimidating. I would be intimidated if I were in your position. And as you mentioned to me, the first couple of years you were in a lot of fear. Is that right?
Yeah, it was definitely true, and even I think it was a necessary. Like, yeah, I can't say how much of a hindrance it was, but it's also was motivating.
Yeah, yeah. For you, it was motivating. For many others, it's probably too much. But some of the individuals continue in spite of their fear and their strong desire to impress me. Ambition is overwhelming sometimes in all of us. I remember when I was driving to a park that the group was going to have a meeting, and I was in it when I was a student. It was many years ago. My teacher was in the back seat, and there were several of us in my car, and I was driving to a park that we were going to have a picnic and talk. And I was so concerned about how my teacher was considering me, how I imagine he was judging my driving, and I was so tense. And I talked about it later, and but that goes on to show us that the reason we are so concerned about the opinions of others or wanted their approval is because we're new in this work or in any job. If you're first time in the kitchen and you are in the food business, as you remember, when you're first learning how to prepare food or even look at and understand what food is, how to prepare food and how to use your knives, there's going to be, it's intimidating. We're overwhelmed with fear until you learn your craft. And it's taken you, how long have you been doing, I've been in the food business now?
About 10 years been cooking.
10 years. And now you express a certain confidence. And only because you've been through a lot of a learning process of failing. And you're telling me your first boss, he yelled at you every minute of the day, it seemed like, and telling you what you're doing wrong. And however, you stuck with him. And in spite of the negative environment, you were able to learn. And I think this is an advantage for an individual who is intellectual. An emotional person could not handle that because you're able to, in your way, and you have a strength in this area where you're able to say block individuals off or their emotional tirade and be able to focus on what you're doing to a certain degree. Is that true?
Yeah, it's not, you can never fully block something like that out, but there is a way where, yeah, it can be buffered and you can think with diminished capacity, but you can still operate as if it's not affecting you.
Yeah, not affecting me. And so Gurdjieff talks about the idea that there are three centers: the emotional, the intellectual, and the physical. This work really requires an individual either function from the emotional or the intellectual center. It's wonderful when we have basically all three, and one is dominant. And when I met my teacher, my emotional center was dominant, and I had to develop my intellectual center. You came to me and with the idea that you want to come to a higher level of consciousness. Is that right?
Yeah, I wasn't quite clear on exactly what that meant. But in essence, I wasn't happy with, I was feeling frustrated that I didn't know how to improve myself.
When you said improve yourself, what did you want to improve?
At the time, I thought that I was lacking discipline. I read Gurdjieff, and through In Search of the Miraculous, he seems to think that, or the message seems to come across that you can just will yourself to a higher state of being. And yeah, I desired a higher state of being, and trying those methods that don't come across clearly led me to a lot of frustration and a feeling of helplessness and yeah, emptiness, basically.
So we all have a different reason why we want to improve our being. And So you were in touch with a desire that you felt that you were not disciplined. You felt you need more discipline. Also, you could not really understand Gurdjieff. Is that you couldn't follow his well, there wasn't his method of improving wasn't that clear. Um, and this is why but there, however, there's so many things in Gurdjieff that are so, I would say, it's truly profound. And I only use Gurdjieff in terms of his psychological uh, understanding of human nature. I don't follow all the other parts of his teachings, like the Enneagram, the octaves, the dancing. To me, they have no relevancy of what I do. I followed my teacher, who was with over 20 years. And so being an emotional person, I had to learn how to apply my mind. I first had to discover that I had a mind because I never thought I did. You have avoided your emotions most of your life until you came to me. And to understand Spinoza, you must learn how to identify your emotions and learn and understand them. But because we all have emotions, because without an emotion, uh, uh, a couple with effort to understand, and the idea of understanding includes an emotion. Gurdjieff brings this out in Search of the Miraculous, which is Ouspensky's book. Ouspensky was a student, as you know. I thought he was an excellent note taker and highly intellectual. And so he said that Gurdjieff said knowledge, it cannot change the being of the individual. However, there is understanding, and understanding includes the whole individual. What does that mean, the whole individual? His mind and his emotions. And what does that mean? Well, if you just read Spinoza, and you've talked about it, you've read Spinoza from front to back, and I'm sure many others have also. And however, if there's no emotion with it, what is that emotion? Do you remember the emotion that includes to come to understanding?
Yeah, the aim has to be, the desire has to be for understanding. So with the emotions desire, yeah,
And there's another emotion. What could that be? If you include desire,
desire and self-love could
yeah,
be involved
yeah,
as well.
exactly. The love of our effort, the love of our effort, and the love to understand. And this is where I think that you're becoming more and more aware of, and you're beginning to live from, which is wonderful to see, Caleb. See this in you. The love of your mind and the love of effort to understand, only the sake for the understand, because in the understanding, we experience a certain level of power. Power. They would call it the power of understanding. And because in my teacher's book, and I was looking at several, let's go to chapter 24 in my teacher's book. Would you go ahead and read that out loud? We're page 48.
The cosmic ethics of certainty. Recently, I spoke about the difficulty one of our students has in believing that certainty is attainable. This evening, we finally clarified his problem. Ralph has been motivated almost all his life by the need for approval from other people. If others approved of him, he could then approve of himself. Instead of using his mind for his own self-enjoyment and studying its operation and how to improve it, he used his mind merely as an instrument to earn the much longed for affirmation from his parents, teachers, friends, and colleagues. Once he gained the approval he desired, he would then lose interest in the project he'd been working on. This motivation enabled him to use only a small part of his mind. He never probed deeply enough into anything to come to certainty about it, and therefore he never intuited that anyone could attain certainty about any idea. Certainty is attainable only if the exercise of the mind in any study or research is motivated by the right attitude and derives from the right motivation the desire to understand something for the joy of understanding, not in order to be superior to others or to gain their approval. There is a cosmic ethics inherent in the very nature of man. This is not an ethics dreamed up by human beings. It is derived from cosmic laws that are expressed in human nature. The need to attain certainty is inherent in the human mind, but as we don't know how to attain it directly, we settle for the symbol of it. If others approve of us, we must be all right. But this does not satisfy our essential need any more than the picture of a meal can satisfy a hungry man. Certainty is that state of mind arrived at when one has applied one's mind objectively to any study or problem until the mind is satisfied that it truly understands. The certainty, when experienced, is that statement of the mind that it indeed understands and that doubt is no longer resident. This is the true authority that fulfills one completely, the authority from within one's intelligence.
Were you able to grasp some of that as you're reading?
Absolutely. There's a lot of excellent ideas in this.
Have you read this before?
Yeah, many times.
Did you say many times?
Yeah, over the last 5 years, I've
Yeah.
probably read it 100 times. And I really love how there's a clear picture in here of what we were just talking about, the desire to understand, and how in the fourth part of the ethics, it's all about which desire in us is strongest. And in this case, Ralph's desire for approval was the strongest one, his strongest desire, and that overwhelmed his innate, we all have the innate desire to understand. Yeah, and that goes with self-approval and how much of our mind is occupied with how much reason we can employ, basically, for our own benefit.
Excuse me. I'm not sure where. Hello, Margaret. I'm in a meeting with Caleb. Oh, God, no, I won't be able to tonight. Bye-bye. Now, as you were bringing this out and listening to you read this and following this, it has almost brought, I felt such an emotion in listening and reading this and understanding as I was reading the beauty of this essay. It almost brought tears to my eyes because of the clarity in it, the truth in it, the power in it. And my teacher was a phenomenal writer and such, had tremendous insights and clarity. So there are different levels of desire. I mean, the desires have different strengths. We have a desire for, say, self-approval, desire for this work. And I think everyone has thousands of desires, and each desire has a certain level of strength and power. And as you said, Ralph's desire was much stronger. His desire to get his approval from his parents and his peers is much stronger than his desire to apply himself, to know himself, and to come to an inner sense of self. Against there's no individual has no guidance in this of how to come to a sense of self. and Gurdjieff says that a group is necessary for individuals to learn how to change their being. Uh, and the question was, another student asked, what is the being of the individual? Uh, Gurdjieff explains it very well. Maybe you already answered that, but would you repeat that again? What is the being of the individual? What does that mean?
Yeah, the being of the individual, and how Gurdjieff's he compares it against personality, which he defines as anything that we've developed, all of our ideas of who we are, that we stumbled into by chance, that we learned through imitation, observation of others, ambition. Um, but the being is basically, as he describes it, it is the understanding. How well do we understand ourself, our emotions, what our mind is, what our mind and being are, and the world around us. Because everything that we do, all the emotions we feel, all the thoughts that we have, come from how good is our understanding.
And this represents our being.
Yes.
So at one moment you can be happy, your being expresses happiness, or you might be angry, your being expresses anger, or you're being sarcastic, or you're being funny, or you're being humorous, or you're being ridiculous. And so that you talk about the being of the individual, the whole being of the individual is, like you say, everything that we've learned since we were infants, all the accumulative knowledge that we learn to how to preserve our existence, and all our desires, all our wants, all our beliefs, all our attitudes, all our conditioning. All this now is more in our memory, and in our memory we act from, and this helps us exist in life, and we learn how to live in life. And some individuals do quite well. Some individuals are very wealthy. Some individuals are very intelligent and do phenomenal things in life. Um, However, there's another level of life that most people aren't aware of, and you became aware of it through Gurdjieff, and I think individuals who go to follow different religious practices or spiritual practices, might be yoga, might be Buddhism, might follow other spiritual leaders. They want something. However, you're in an audience, so you might practice, you might listen to their voice, so you might practice meditation, which is nice. But my teacher really explained something very important. He said that, and he emphasizes Gurdjieff's idea that you must be involved in a group to learn how to change one's being. To be in an audience or a seminar or listening or reading material does not have enough in it to change one's being. Because why is that? What would you say to a new individual, or so you're endeavoring to talk to an individual, a stranger says they feel they're dissatisfied with their life, and you said, well, you might, maybe this individual might be interested in what you are doing. What would you tell the individual? And this would be a challenge, but what would you say to that individual?
Yeah, like in terms of if they're interested in doing the work.
Oh, they have no idea about the work.
Yeah.
They have no idea about any work.
Well, just an average person, someone who I don't have a relationship with, through my experience, it takes so much effort to, like for myself, many years to even feel like I know which direction I want to go in. And I know how to study, and I feel a certain confidence about that. But it took me so much effort to get to that point that unless someone really expressed a strong desire, there's not, it's, you, understanding cannot be given to someone. It can't be, it can't be forced on anyone. Um, so I might mention something to pique someone's interest, but yeah, it would, it's up, I think it's up to an individual to if they hear about a group, put the effort in to yeah, seek out those who can help them.
Okay, say someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, it says work to you in the kitchen where you are. You work in a wealthy area. You live in a nice area, and you work in a reputable restaurant." And someone has worked with this individual for a few months, and he's observing you, and he says to you, "You know, you seem to be well put together." Um, and you speak so clearly. You do get, I see you seem to figure things out. Uh, I feel so fearful, and I have so much, I'm not happy, and I don't know what to do. Um, all these books I read about self-help books, and I watch Osho, and I watch Ellen Watts and many others, and they say a lot of good things, but I don't seem to change my behavior. I don't like myself. Well, of course, uh, that's rare for an individual to come out like that directly. But what would you say to that person?
Yeah, if someone expressed in that manner, I think that I would really love to talk to that person. Um, yeah, I don't really know where I would start with them. I might ask them why they feel that way, what they think they're looking for, and yeah, then I would probably invite them to, if they're interested in study, might show them a chapter out of your teacher's book, or or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. You're right. I would probably, if I were you, I'd probably say, you know what? I'd like to talk to you what I do. I'm involved in a group, a study group, and this is what Gurdjieff says is very important. And and I think he has a clear idea that you cannot do this on your own. Um, you must be involved in a group. There must be someone in the group that knows about the work, has gone through the work, and because they're the ones that can see how what well how to do the work first of all, how to identify, how to learn about our nature, and how to begin to differentiate between the mind that desires to understand the true intelligence and the passive mind, which lives in the past, lives from memory. So with this new individual or this friend, I'll call him, say, Ralph. Ralph, you know what I like to do is we don't have time right now to talk, but after work, I'd like to talk to you about it, what I do, and how it's changed my life. How the work I do has changed my life. Have you ever heard of Gurdjieff? Oh, no, no. I haven't heard of Gurdjieff. Have you ever heard of Spinoza? Oh, no, no. Okay, well, those are the two individuals. Um, I study with my teacher, and I have to talk to you about them. I think you might be interested. So I'll see you later. Okay. All right. Great. So I used to go to bookstores many years ago and just walk around the philosophy section, and I look at individuals and see what they're looking at. And then I used to carry a card with me, a business card that says, I put my my website on it, and also my name and my phone number. And rarely did I get any interest, but it was an exercise for me just to engage with people. And I gave out a lot of cards, and I put thousands of cards in bookstores and books, different books that I used to. And I used to do this with my teacher also. We should get new students to attend our meetings and put up posters and flyers, pass out flyers, and put in book bookmarks in books. And so sometimes we have to initiate. See, nobody knows that you have knowledge, because wisdom, it doesn't have a face. Everybody looks like they're wise. You can wear a beard and wear a robe, and you look like a guru. I remember going to a Maharishi meditation society. This was during the 60s. And I went to one of their conferences, and there were, like 1,000 people there. And many people were dressed just like him. I mean, he had a long beard, and he looked like a wise man. And this is individuals you'll find that, or into Eastern teachings, they think that just by wearing a robe and having a beard that they're wise. And so you can't really see the wisdom of an individual unless you hang around them for a while, and you're open. So to be involved in a group, the leader of the group knows how to lead the meetings, and the individual begins to ask questions of the leader, and where are we going to study, the conversation, where it's going to go. And ultimately, the new student is there to learn from Gurdjieff and Spinoza, and from the teacher how to explain Gurdjieff and Spinoza. What are they talking about, and how can we learn to digest these phenomenal ideas that are truly spiritual? Spinoza talks about the mind is the spirit of the individual. The mind is a spirit, especially the awakened mind. If the mind is asleep, and Spinoza talks about the idea that the mind, in certain cases, is active, and in certain cases, passive. When the mind is passive, it's in a confused state. It's basically a passive mind. It means that it has doubt. It's uncertain. And this is where this chapter is this essay is so important, is the idea that we live in doubt. When we live in doubt, we live in fear. Fear is pain with an inconstant, fear is an constant pain arising from something in the future we have doubt of, a doubt of the consequences of the thing that we fear. Fear, again, is something that we dread or do not want to happen. So the individual must learn how to look at himself, to learn about his nature, realizing it's possible to know oneself. And that is the key. We learn through Spinoza's improvement. At the beginning of the pages, the process Spinoza went through to learn how to improve his understanding, and why he wanted to do that. Because he saw all the desires that are in him. There were the strong desires that wanted fame and fortune and the pleasures of life. But he also had another desire that was much stronger, that wanted a permanent happiness, and to be connected with that thing that manifested this reality, that if we were connected to it, that it would truly give us a feeling of fulfillment and happiness. But it's not the thing itself. It's us learning how to transcend ourselves from being a robotic, passive individual to an awakened, spiritual, intelligent being. And this is going to be our new identity. And so this is the work, what the work is about, is how to awaken the intelligence, know that we have an intelligence that can understand, as you said earlier, the power of coming to understanding and the love of our effort. So this, we come to self-approval, a sense of self, and we follow really what is best. Not all the time, because there are desires that are going to take us to directions that we didn't realize that we had these desires. And we might be caught up in it, and we might lose the work. It seems like we lost it, but only the fact that that desire is so strong that it takes us away for a while, and then we find ourselves and start again. This work gives us unlimited new beginnings. It's never static. The only thing that's static is when you live in your past memory. Today, 2020, December, we're going to what's called another return of the COVID-19, the coronavirus. It's going to in Los Angeles, where I live, even in Santa Monica, and outlying communities. They're having a resurgence of this virus, and it's a killer. And there are individuals who do not believe it, do not want to conform to the demands of now the government, or say the community, or the county where they live, give restrictions. Now we're closing up shop here. By the way, in your restaurant, are they closing up yet or not? They're keeping this open?
We're closed now.
Oh, you're closed now?
Yeah.
And when did that happen?
About 2 weeks ago. Well, actually, just over 1 week ago, and we're open only for takeout now.
And how many days are you working now?
Still the same, actually more.
Really good for you.
Well, everyone got laid off except for me and 2 other people. So.
Whoa, not good for everyone else, but good for you.
Yeah.
What this shows, Caleb, is that do you think that work has helped you put in a new level of effort, and therefore you're more competent at work?
Oh, definitely. There's in the kitchen, there's so many moving pieces. There's, in terms of things going on every day, there's so many things. And one of the biggest benefits is that it helps me keep a level head, and that's really necessary. You have to dealing with problems every day, every second of every day. Yeah, so I think it's helped me a lot at work.
Yeah, and at times you can be overwhelmed. And I think we studied a couple of weeks ago about how you were overwhelmed, and your anger was expressed. Your hate, pain, and anger was expressed, and you began to feel good about that to a certain level. At first, it was overwhelming, but later you realized the appreciation of acknowledging your emotions, and I think a couple of years ago, it would be impossible for you to do what you do now. You think that's true?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ways that, like I learned a particular way of dealing with problems and dealing with, and how to be at work, especially with, like in the kitchen, you have to interact with people all the time. It'd be so much easier if I was the only person. But yeah, there's a lot of patterns that I have that I just never became conscious of. How to deal with working with others. Yeah, typical emotions at work of pain or frustration, and how to deal with that, what to do in those situations. So being more conscious of that, it's really a feeling of becoming more free, which is amazing.
Yes, but before to get to that level of freedom, And this, again, what is the work about? To look at oneself. What do we look at? To look how we are affected by life. We must be involved with life, a job, and if you have a relationship, how the other individual affects you. Or if you don't have a relationship, even when you go to the store or and you're parking your car, um, and you find that someone steals your parking spot, you're going to react. Or if you're in line and you really follow the protocol that wearing the mask and distancing yourself, and someone comes right in front of you without a mask and doesn't care about the distance, you're going to react. I react all the time. The problem is not the reaction, but what do you do with it? And at first we're overwhelmed. We might feel pain. Why is it? Why do we feel pain? It's because our desire. If you go to the store, you have a desire to pick up your groceries, and there might be something that interferes with that process. And life is not going to go the way you plan. Life is going to give you challenges. And so if your desires are not met, you're going to feel pain. And what's the pain? Is a feeling of lack of power. And this is what we want to look at oneself. Look at our desire. What was the situation that triggered us, that stopped us? When we're stopped, we're going to feel pain. And what is pain? Is a decrease of power. What does that mean? In reality, I feel I don't know what to do with this situation I'm in now. And then we go into hate about hate. What is hate now? Well, hate is pain accompanied by the idea of someone as a cause. And then from hate, we go into anger automatically. And what is anger? Oh, anger is desire whereby through hatred we are induced to remove or destroy the object of our hate. And so there's a lot of information there. And so the object of this work, what we're doing, and what Caleb has learned over the years, is how to do this. And we must be exposed to this over and over again, many, many times. And eventually it begins to take root in us. Another student says it begins to gel. It resonates. We begin to feel the reality of the problem, of how to do this. To look at, again, everybody has anger. Everybody has hate. Everybody experiences pain. And everybody has something they want accomplished. Or you might want to meet someone in a restaurant and they don't show up. Or things like that. So a multitude of situations that will trigger us. And in the triggers, we learn how we are being, how we are affected. And this is an opportunity to awaken oneself. So that is basically the work, beginning of the work. But to understand what we're doing is the practice and the heart of growth. Now, I'm going to stop this, Caleb, and call you right back. Okay?
Okay.
Let's see how this works. Okay.